Mr. Will's Music World.
Hello everyone, Mr. Will here today, and I have a really special episode. I guess all the episodes are special, but I'm really excited about this one. I have a special friend with me, and as you can see, we're somewhere different. We are in the lair. No, we are in the special lab, the studio.
That's actually what we call it.
Yeah, the lair. Nice. Yes. We are in the studio, otherwise known as the lair, at Casino Guitars in Southern Pines, North Carolina. And I'm here with Mr. Baxter. Mr. Baxter is an incredible musician and business owner. He runs Casino Guitars, where they record music, teach music, sell guitars, instruments, guitar amplifiers, which we'll talk about. But I just wanted to ask Mr. Baxter about the guitar. Perhaps some of you play the guitar. And so today we're going to talk all about guitars.
This is my favorite subject.
Really?
I would love to talk about guitar. I like guitars, I like video games, and I like puppies. That's pretty much my favorite things.
Puppies. Do any of you like puppies? Or perhaps you're a cat person?
I have a cat, but I like my puppies better.
Yeah. And then you could be one of those rare breeds that loves cats and dogs, right?
I believe that exists.
So tell us about some of the guitars. Obviously, there's hundreds of guitars, and you will see throughout the show in Casino Guitars here. Amazing. And I'm sure you probably have more at home too, and it's probably never ending.
It's closets filled with guitars. They fall out.
Right. Just like me and drums. It's just nonstop.
It's messy.
Yeah. So you have a couple that you brought with you. Could you show us this guitar that you have with us here?
Well, this is what people call an acoustic guitar.
Wow.
So this is one of the first types of guitars that you would go on to get exposed to. And I love guitars, and I like particularly old guitars.
Wow.
This one was built in 1941. And the guy who owned this, which I think is a neat story, was in the Army Air Corps during World War II.
Really?
And this was overseas. And he's got a custom stamp that's stuck on there still. He used to fly missions, and he was a daring pilot, and he came back from his war, and years later he gave this guitar to us.
Really?
And he just lets me play it and share it with everyone that wants to see it. So anybody wants to play this guitar, I let them come and play it. So this is called a Martin guitar too.
Yes.
And we like them.
Wow. This is awesome. It actually has the stamp on there from when he was
From Saudi Arabia.
Wow, during the World War II era. And I see it has some Arabic words on there. Oh, that is
I'm not quite
incredible.
sure. I'm not that smart. But it is pretty amazing that this is all from the same guy, a fellow named Dick Cavito.
Dick
I just
Cavito.
love that.
Wow.
And this is a Martin guitar built in Nazareth, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Built by hand.
Wow.
So what I think is so special about most of these guitars that we find, every part of it's sort of built by hands. Guys and girls will sit there and carve these things with some knives. They'll heat the wood up to bend it.
Wow.
And these are all different pieces. Then they got to cut all this and set it here. But the real magic part about guitars to me is the stuff you don't see. It's the stuff inside.
Oh.
So if you ever want to get curious and you're at home, put your fingers and sort of feel inside. You'll feel these little wooden struts, they call them, or what they're really called is bracing. And that's what makes the magic of a guitar sound.
Wow.
So it keeps it together too, because otherwise this whole thing would just collapse in on itself like an accordion.
Do they all have the same type of bracing inside?
They do not. Some have different bracings, but Martin sort of perfected what's called X bracing. So it's like this. So there's a big X inside of it, and that kind of helps hold the guitar together, but also creates the sound that we know and love in these guitars.
Amazing. You said that this is an acoustic guitar.
Yes, it is.
What does that mean? What's the difference?
Well, there's two types. There's an acoustic guitar and an electric guitar. Acoustic needs no amplification, no electricity, so I can just play it and sound comes out. That's why there's this hole cut here. That's pretty much the amplifier.
Okay.
And it's this old-fashioned amplifier that shoots sound out, and it's wonderful. And so I can just hit a chord, and sound comes out.
Wow.
And this guitar is really, really old. It's probably older than your mom or dad, maybe even older than your grandparents, maybe even older than your great-grandparents.
Wow.
And it still works.
It still works. It's incredible, and it sounds lovely. What type of wood is it made out of? Do you know?
This is made, I think I do know, because I love wood. So what I do when I see a guitar, I actually smell it. And a guitar this old usually smells like stinky grandparent sweat socks. This one does not though. It smells nice and sweet because it's been out in the air for a long time. But this is made out of mahogany.
Mahogany.
And you're in lots of percussion instruments are probably made out of a similar wood. I love mahogany. It's a warm wood. It's a little darker in color, but it's very smooth, very even, and it just makes a great guitar.
That is incredible. Tell me a little bit about the guitar and how it's made here. These pegs here, we see them all the time, but what exactly are the pegs doing there?
So those are called tuning pegs. And what you do with the tuning pegs is you actually get the guitar in tune. And if you're a new guitar player, one of the hardest parts of playing guitar is tuning the guitar. And you're gonna break strings more than you wanna say.
What happens when you break the string?
You get a new string.
Oh man.
That's it. It goes bang and off and you're scared and you're frustrated, but nothing matters. Just go get a new string. A string's not expensive. We'll fix your strings up. It happens all the time.
Wow.
That's the hardest part of playing guitar is learning how to tune it and learning how to keep the strings on there.
Wow, and I see they're wrapped around here on the little knob there.
They are wrapped around here. They kind of wrap around just a few times. There's no locking mechanisms. They just lock in there by turning it around, and the tension holds it together.
Wow.
And then right here, you've got something called the nut.
Okay.
And that sort of holds the strings over the fretboard, which is this big plane here. That's called the fretboard because these little metal things are called frets.
Oh, okay. I see that. They kind of stick out a little bit.
They do stick out. And that's why, so when you squeeze down a chord, the strings hit the frets. They don't actually hit the fretboard. A lot of people think it does.
Right.
And so people say, I like the way that fretboard feels. The trick is you never feel the fretboard.
Never feel it.
So it doesn't matter as much as you think it does. So you just touch the frets. And this guitar has never been refretted. Some people will change their frets, but this guitar is very old. And it's been taken care of and it's been beaten to tar, and it still works great.
Incredible.
Built properly.
Wow. Now what are these dots in there?
Well, those are your sort of fret markers is what they call them. Okay. And you have them here, and you also have them on the side of your guitar. That way, in case you're not as intelligent as some people like me, I need to be able to see where I'm playing sometimes.
Okay.
So it tells me I'm on the 3rd fret, the 5th fret, the 7th fret, the 9th fret, the 12th fret, and so on. You really don't get up here into the 15th and 17th frets too often, but it kind of helps us. Whereas if you're a cello or violinist, you don't get any of that stuff.
Wow.
There's nothing.
It's just play. So if these frets here were not there, what would happen then?
Well, there are such things as fretless guitars and fretless basses. You can still get a sound, it's going to be a different sound, but you just have to sort of know where you're putting your fingers.
Wow.
And they might have frets drawn on the guitar.
So it's like an educated guess.
It's very much an educated guess.
Wow.
Which I would probably educatedly guess wrong a lot.
Now, the strings look a little bit different. Are all of these strings the same, or is it just one thicker?
That's a good observation, Mr. Will. So a lot of strings are different for the type of guitar you play. So all these are steel wrapped strings. And then you get down to the top we call the ones on the highest part, even though it's the bottom when you hold it, is the top because it's the pitch. These are just like nice steel wires. It's pretty simple mathematics and engineering to all of this. But then you get into a classical style guitar, and it's a nylon style string, which used to be made of catgut, speaking of cats.
Wow, that's like the violin.
Correct.
Yes.
And then with electric guitar, you have similar strings of these, but a lot less tension. So it doesn't hurt your fingers as much.
Right, and then they go down into this knob here, and is that just what's holding it?
This thing is called the bridge.
Okay.
And so this, right here, you have your saddle, which is, and that puts the strings over it, and you have your string pegs right here as well. And then these are gonna hold these strings into place. So the strings actually go through the guitar into the body down here, and these little guys hold them down, just kind of like a nail. And whenever you need to restring it, you just pop them out, the string comes flying out, and you pop a new string in there.
Wow, that is incredible.
And what these things are made of really affects the way the guitar sounds. These are made from bone.
Bone?
Yes.
Really?
There's there's cow bone and sheep bone. So it's different types, that mostly cow bone, and there's lots of synthetic bones and nuts that way they use. But that's what this, and it gives it a more resonant and better sounding tone.
Wow. That's interesting. Now, do you play this with your fingers?
You can play it with both.
Okay.
Your fingers, or what people call a pick.
Oh, a pick.
The fancy word is plectrum.
Plectrum, got it. Because if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is called a quarterphone.
Wow,
the guitar.
Weird. I guess that would be called. I haven't heard that in a while. That sort of threw me back.
You may remember this, everyone, from our organology episode where we talked about how you put different instruments in different groups, different categories, and different instruments are called different things. And I believe the guitar is called a quarterphone, but we'll let Professor Will tell you more about that later.
All I like that. I want to meet this professor.
So show us this plectrum, this pick.
I have a pick right in my hand here.
Oh, are they all made out of the same things?
No, they're not. They're all made from different things as well. Some are made from nylon, some are made from plastic. That's made from Tortex.
Tortex?
Which is a sort of hybrid material that has a bit of bend and doesn't degrade as quickly.
Oh, wow. So it's a man-made material?
It is a man-made material.
And it has casino guitars on there.
It does have casino guitars.
This is a special pick.
It's one of my favorite picks. I had these specially made, so everybody at the shop has these, and we always play with them. But then I have some other picks. These are very inexpensive, probably about 25 cents a piece.
Oh, wow.
But then I have some in my pocket that are about $40 a piece.
Wow.
For one pick. And maybe
that's not one you want to lose or get lost in the guitar.
So make sure you take it out of your laundry before you put it in there. I lose a lot of picks in the laundry.
I'm sure Mrs. Baxter, Mrs. Taylor.
I call her Mrs. Baxter too.
Mrs. Baxter, I'm sure she finds plenty of guitar picks in the washing machine.
She does, unfortunately.
Yeah. So let's hear a little bit of the guitar, and after this, we'll play a little bit together. But let's hear what this one sounds like.
So I'll just play like an open string at first.
Okay.
That's your E string.
E string.
And it will go on for quite a while. But what's really fun is when you put multiple notes together and play a chord.
Wow.
Isn't that nice sounding?
Beautiful.
It's still going, it's still vibrating. I love that. It's old little things talking to me. I always look at guitars as trees that are learning how to be guitars. And so this one's had decades to do it, so that's why it's really good.
Yes.
When they first get made into guitars, they don't know what they're doing yet. And it takes a few years sometimes, and then they become a new voice out of it.
That's amazing.
That's how I view guitars.
Wow.
And if I put two chords together, then I can add a few little flourishes.
Wow.
Guitar.
Now, Mr. Baxter, that sounded incredible. Where did you learn how to play the guitar like that?
What's funny is I kind of learned by myself for a long time. I sat alone in my parents' house and just didn't go out much and just played guitar. And then my parents took me to a church at one point, and I learned, and it was an African-American church.
Yeah.
I learned gospel and R&B at a very young age.
Yes.
I was probably about the age of that cameraman back there.
Really?
And I was just playing R&B and gospel, and I grew up playing blues really young.
Wow.
And then I started taking lessons when I was probably in my young teens.
Wow.
And I started taking classical guitar lessons, because I played everything else on my own.
Okay.
So I could play like fancy things like Mozart and Beethoven and Sohr and Giuliani. And that became my ticket to going to college.
Wow, and you studied guitar in college?
I did. I never would have gotten to go to college probably otherwise, because I wasn't that good at school.
Wow.
I'm not a great athlete. From the looks of me, you can probably tell.
You never know.
No. I did play a quiz question. I was the captain of a sports team in college, and we'll let your viewers try to guess and see what it is.
We'll let you guess and see what that might be.
It's a real sport. It's in the Olympics.
Wow. Maybe we'll put that at the end of the show. So you have to guess and figure it out by the end of the show. So after college, did you play anywhere else? Did you?
I did. I was lucky enough. I moved straight to New York City.
Wow.
And then in New York City, I ended up working as a touring musician and a player on Broadway.
Wow. Broadway.
Broadway.
What does a guitarist do on Broadway?
You have to play lots of music every night. But it's really fun. So we sit down in this thing called the pit.
Okay.
With a bunch of your friends. They put these sheets of music in front of you. You have to be able to read music playing Broadway, most likely. And then you play music with your friends each night for about 2 hours.
Wow.
And it's so much fun. And then during the show, usually the pit might rise up, and then the audience sees you, you wave for about 5 seconds, and then it pulls you back in, and you're back to work.
Wow.
And it's great.
Wow.
I made some of my best friends, and we had so much fun. And I like to say I've never had a job my entire life.
Wow. That's amazing. Perhaps one of you will play on Broadway one day, like Mr. Baxter.
I hope so. It's a fun trip. I enjoyed it.
Wow, that's incredible. So that's amazing, the acoustic guitar, and such a special one. Thank you so much for sharing this guitar.
Thanks for letting me play it.
I see another guitar over here that looks quite different, similar shape, but quite different than that one. And what do we have here?
Well, this is an electric guitar.
Ooh, a pretty one at that.
It is really pretty. I like green and pink are my favorite colors.
Ah, yes.
So,
yes.
and pink and green used to be really popular colors back in the old days when these guitars were made. This is a 1961 Fender Stratocaster.
Really? Wow.
And it's really, really cool, and it's really fun. It's a lot heavier than that guitar too.
Wow, I can imagine. It looks pretty heavy.
But it's pretty much the same thing in a lot of ways if you look at them both together too. It's got a lot of the same mechanical aspects. It's got tuning pegs up there.
Up here,
They're
although they look
different.
a little different. Well, this one's all in the top.
That's how Fender does theirs. It's a whole new type of revolutionary design.
Wow.
And then it has a nut right there.
Okay.
It has a fretboard.
Yeah.
It has metal frets. It fret markers, little dots. Now what it doesn't have, it doesn't have a sound hole. You're gonna notice these three little things down there.
Is this all solid?
This is all solid.
Okay.
You'll notice some behind us, like that red one back there, is hollow.
Ah, yes, I can see the holes in there.
And that's also a 1961 Gibson.
Ooh, wow.
And I like 1961 apparently. It's a good year.
Yes, especially for these guitars, yes.
And so this, how sound is made, these are called pickups. And for what these do, these are magnets wrapped with a special type of wire that takes the vibrations from the guitar and sends it into something else
nice.
called an amplifier.
Yes, yes, that is beautiful.
Isn't that neat how that works?
That is so neat.
Because that's all music is vibrations traveling through air. I think that's amazing. It hits you in the face and your ear balls.
Yes.
So the way this works too is I have my volume here, which you just heard. These control the tone, so that makes it either sound a little bit more treble or a little more bass, like this.
That's incredible.
Isn't that neat?
Wow, that is so neat. That's using electricity, and it's using this cable to send the sound out to the amplifier.
And what you said there is exactly how I think about playing an electric guitar. I'm playing electricity. I'm not playing guitar in the same way anymore. Because I like to think of, I have to operate it differently, just a little bit, to really harness the most power out of this little monster.
Incredible.
And these guys, I can control with this little lever here called the pickup selector. When I move it around, I have 5 different positions to go to either here, these two, this one alone, these two together, or this one alone.
Wow, and that makes me think about electronic engineering and design. A lot of times, I know many people, when they think about engineering, they think about computers and cars, but perhaps you can actually be an engineer designing instruments, guitars.
Well, the man who designed this didn't play one bit of guitar.
Really?
And he made the most famous guitar in all of history.
Wow.
Leo Fender couldn't play anything on guitar, but he was the iconic guitar maker of one of the most popular guitars ever made.
Incredible. What a story.
Pretty neat, isn't it?
That is very neat and very inspiring as well.
I think it is too.
Yeah. So tell me about is that the bridge?
This is the bridge too, just
Yeah.
like the acoustic guitar. And these have saddles that are made of metal, and you can adjust them with this little screw back here. And what's really neat on this one too, I have it closed up. I should have had it opened, but behind this is a whole bunch of springs too.
Wow.
That hold the bridge in place. Because if I want to do this,
That's
I
cool.
can do that. If I put a little thing called a whammy bar in.
Yes, yes. I've seen those things.
I don't think I have any whammy bars in my guitars right now because oftentimes my kids will come in and just whammy them.
Yeah.
And nobody wants your guitar to get whammied all the time.
Right. Wow. Now I have a question for you.
Please.
I've heard of, and our listeners and our viewers may love this word, I've heard of something on electronic guitars called humbuckers.
Yes.
Is there any humbuckers on this guitar?
No, but I can grab them with humbuckers.
Yeah, I would love to see.
do
I mean,
that.
some of you are probably like, humbucker, what is that?
It's kind of neat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's see, what shall I grab? Let's grab one of these back here. Let's grab this guy.
Oh,
Grab
that
another
is
nice-
such a beautiful guitar.
A whole different type of guitar.
Oh my goodness.
So this is a Gibson ES355 stereo, also from 1961.
Wow.
And these are called humbuckers. Now, but the reason they came up with these are pretty much 2 single coil pickups like that one wrapped together. And they call it the humbucker because it gets rid of the hum. Because these guitars have a certain cycle hum is what they call it, which makes a lot of noise with those.
Right.
And then this kind of eliminates that, but it also gives you a very different sound.
Okay. Wow. That is really neat. So those are called humbuckers. And this is a double. There's
Yes,
two of them.
2 humbuckers. And some, there's one back there, has 3 humbuckers.
Whoa.
But this one's one of my favorites too, because one of my favorite guitar players used to play one of these just like this, called Chuck Berry.
Chuck Berry, yes.
And if you see him dancing across the stage,
That's right.
see, this is what he used to play.
That's right. If you've seen Elvis, you've seen Chuck Berry.
Seeing that type of style,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's the electric guitars in a nutshell.
Wow, that is excellent. So neat that I'm so excited about how you've showed us all about the guitar. It's really cool. I think what will be really neat is if we play a little bit together.
I would love to play. Thanks
Yeah,
for
let's
asking.
do that. Let's do that. Hey, what's happening, everyone? You may have remembered that Mr. Baxter asked a question. A little trivia, I guess. What sport do you think that he played, that he was the captain of when he was in school? I'll give you a hint. If you haven't guessed already, they often wear white suits and cover their faces. You got it yet? Here it is. Fencing. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. Make sure you don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon.